I'm Troy Thompson. Over the last 15 years, our family has worked hard to create a place we call the center of the universe. A place where our kids and someday our grandkids can come home to and laugh, have fun, learn how to work, pray, worship God, and be a place to celebrate life with all our friends. After a quarter century in uniform, I put away one set of boots for another, working on our acreage, improving the land, fixing some structures, and building new ones. We say, give back to the community, be useful, keep your hands calloused, and spread the gospel. This is a little place in a little state right in the middle of flyover country, from which cries out a voice in the wilderness to all who might want to listen, learn, and laugh along with us. This is our American dream. Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Sunnyside, and happy Labor Day. Today is Labor Day, and that means it's the 2nd of September, and once again, we have the opportunity to celebrate the value of labor. When I say that, I am not inclined to celebrate the value of organized labor, although most labor that I've participated in has, in some ways, been organized, usually by, a boss, or nowadays by me, or my parents when I was younger. Work is what I'm talking about, my friends, and we always say here on the sunny side of life that you should keep your hands calloused and you should stay busy and have a sense of purpose, and I feel like, obviously, work is a great way to do that. And so I appreciate the elements of labor and labor industry, labors of all sorts. And I'm sure you do too. And you are probably laboring away, toiling away at one point or another, perhaps while you're listening to this, and you're staying focused, of course, on whatever it is that you're trying to do with your hands or with your mind. Work is important, and I don't want to distract you from it too much. But we celebrate work. We celebrate labor, having a sense of purpose here at Sunnyside. It's a very small farm. What I do out here is pretty much limited to growing hay. We do grow a lot of grass, though, because I'm mowing grass, it seems, quite regularly. But I'm not the only one who does that. My wife, Heidi, enjoys mowing the grass, and my sons have all spent time on the mower. And when you have about 7 acres of lawn to mow, it takes a group of people to get that done sometimes. So let's talk about labor. Let's talk about the value of work today as we think about Labor Day. You take the day off and you don't have to work at the job in most cases. Some of you are, of course. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. You're still out there grinding away. And I appreciate you and I thank you for what you do. Whatever it is, the value of work is so important to our lives. And it isn't necessarily, I don't think our careers ultimately define us. And I think what defines us is the content of our character. But I do believe that it's important that we all have a sense of purpose and a willingness to work and a desire to work, a motivation deep within that says, hey, lazy bones, you should be doing something. That's something that is instilled in some people just naturally. I think of, my parents seemed to always be at work. And so I grew up in an environment on a farm where we always had something to do. And we were always expected to lend a hand. And we weren't always explained to what it was that we were going to do or what the result of what we were ultimately doing would be. But we were expected to lend a hand and to help out. And maybe you grew up in a similar situation, whether it was on a farm or not. And maybe your parents did put you to work. And I'm grateful that my parents put me to work very young. I mean, when you're a young family, I'm the oldest of 2 other siblings, and they, we were out in the field. Part of it was just the daycare element, like you had to go where your parents were. So I was riding in tractors as a very young child with my parents and my grandparents and part of the farm. And then, when you're a little boy, you want to help and you want to do some whatever it is that your folks are doing. So I picked up rocks out of the field, and I couldn't, eventually I couldn't pick up very big rocks, but eventually I could. And of course we did the bean walking, and later on we did the bean riding, and we had hogs. So we were always doing something with hogs, moving hogs and catching hogs for castration, which is always a exciting episode if you're a boy to watch that terrifying situation. But moving pigs and washing pigs and just taking pigs to market and just getting the bedding in and cleaning the bedding out after they'd made a mess in it, all of those things turned out to be pretty valuable experiences in my life. And then I've said before that when I got to the age of 16, I hit the road, and I still lived at home. I was still going to school. I wasn't kicked out of the house or anything like that, but I was encouraged to go work for somebody else, and I did. I went to work at the radio station, which makes sense considering that I have my own podcast now I'm nearly 50, and so that day's coming, and I look back on those days as a teenager working at the radio station late at night and on weekends, and the experiences that I had there and the expectations that were had, and the job responsibilities were different, and it certainly wasn't as hot and sweaty and difficult physically as working on the farm, and it certainly wasn't as smelly most of the time. I'd say almost all the time in that case, but there were some times, I suppose, where you met some interesting people that were pretty rank, but that's another time, I guess, for another story for another time. I was just encouraged by my parents to go work for I still had to work for my parents on the farm. Like, that never ended, and I still help out when I'm asked to, and I enjoy it, and I don't expect anything from it, really, because I just enjoy the labor of getting something done. I feel good when I have accomplished something. I think it's very satisfying, as I've said before, to look behind me in a freshly cut hayfield, for example, and see that the windrows are neatly placed, and then they become, little bales out in the field looking all nice and everything like that, and like a little Pez dispenser, and then picking them up, and then, that can get dusty and dirty, and it can be hot and sweaty, and if you're not wearing, maybe sleeves like you should be, then you might get some rash from the hay or whatever, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the process, and it's very, very satisfying. I've worked in construction, as many of you who listen to this program have told me that you have worked in construction or still are working in construction. And when I started in construction, like anybody else who doesn't know anything, I was the low man on the totem pole, so I was told what to do and when to be where and tried to do things right, and usually got it wrong. I got covered in concrete and carried a lot of messy things and bloodied the knuckles quite often, but just really appreciated that experience, even though at the time I wasn't always appreciative, whether it was on the construction site as a young man or out in the field as a farmhand working for the family farm, any of that stuff. You may not particularly enjoy it at the moment, and particularly, I guess, when you come in from the house after working with hogs, you have a unique aroma attached to your body that seems to take forever to get off, but you can get it out of there. You take a shower. So you learn the value not only of hard work and sweat equity, you also learn the value of proper hygiene when you work hard. And so my entire life has been an exercise in getting something done, having many, many projects. And I found, of course, if you've got too many projects open, it can be very difficult to manage. So you have to learn how to manage your time, and you have to learn to prioritize, and you have to learn to think things through so you can be organized. I've also learned that if you take the time to do it right the first time, that you end up saving yourself quite a bit of time later on. And so working hard,